Good morning, and happy Thursday out there. Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. This is a number where we try to make sense of all the data that we see flowing across our news, try to make some sense of it. But you need to subscribe. We only got one subscriber yesterday. I can only beg so much. No, if you subscribe, you get notification whenever I go live or whenever I add new content. Last night, about 4 o'clock, we did a little cruising the hood around downtown Scottsdale. That was kind of fun. Very interesting to see the different levels of homes there, from $250,000 condominiums up to a $5 million home, all in that one small compact area. So that's kind of fun. We're going to talk today about how to find the value of your home, and can you rely on those online calculators? Anybody want to guess if you can? I've got some shocking numbers for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So where are we at today? Hey, I want to also say thank you to 2 YouTube subscribers who are taking advantage of my $800 closing cost credit that I give subscribers. That's another reason you should subscribe. So we're going to list one of the homes next week and the other one the week after that. Get those things wrapped up in no time. Because today we have 5,122 homes on the market. That's 180 more than yesterday. Our 7-day moving average, a little encouraging. We have 4,281 that come on, with only 3,817 go under contract. That's a difference of 464. So we're starting to see some metrics here where the homes under contract are starting to slide ever so slightly, and the listings are starting to stay above. And I hope this gap continues and grows. My gut tells me that a lot of this is primarily just the fact that kids are out of school and people are doing less home shopping over these few weeks. For everybody's either been in school or been home and stuck on Zoom calls, and now they're just heading to the hills. And you just try finding a camping spot anywhere up in the White Mountains right now, forget it. Everybody's heading out of town. So what's going on? Well, let's take a look at where we're at in the Cromford Index, and I want to explain it just a little bit, because the Cromford Index is a proprietary method where they're I think I got to turn my mic down here. I'm blowing you guys out here. Where they determine the strength of the market. So this is the market in whole. This is a market index that shows that we were over at 500 in March, and now we're down to 447. Normal's down here in 100. The last time we were normal was in 2014. But you look at last year, and right down here is the bottom, May 2020. Here's March, okay? We were all told to stay home. Boom. The sentiment dropped. But it was still an advantage for sellers. But then look, it just took off, right? I mean, it took off quickly. Now, it's possible, although I'm not seeing any numbers that tell me it looks like it's going to happen, except for this index number. It's coming down at a pretty good clip. Is it possible that by 2022 we're going to be back down here and be normal? I don't know, because our problem is with supply. Our supply number is just barely eking up. And the demand is coming down at a pretty good clip, but lately, the past couple of weeks, has leveled off. So when those two converge, that'll bring down this market index. So, maybe next year, maybe. There is some interesting news in San Francisco. The condos rebound as COVID's effect on the market dwindle. You'll find these numbers shocking. It says here that spring sales of luxury condos, those priced at $2 million or above, hit an all-time high. They're buying them because they can't afford the houses, but they can afford $2 million for a condo. I don't know how they do it up there. But that's interesting. And because yesterday I said it's kind of unusual that our condo market isn't exploding, given that people feel that they're getting outpriced on single family homes. But buyers want single family homes. They want a yard. So they're not running to condos like we typically do when we're feeling outpriced on single family homes. Early state delinquencies dropped below pre-COVID levels. What does that mean? Well, here's what it means. As you start to see now that they're saying that there's all these forbearances out there and there's millions of homes that are come on the market, And the people that are saying that there's going to be a bubble are really going to be hanging on that number. But yet the reality is the people that track these numbers are saying that the people that are behind on their mortgages are behind at a level that we already were before the pandemic. There's always a certain percentage of people that are behind on their mortgages. It's just the way the math works. Why you have appraisals, that's why there's tight lending standards. So that number is back down to pre-pandemic levels. So you're going to hear people say, well, there's 2.4 million homes. Well, do the math, 2.4 million, whatever Arizona's percentage is, if they all come on the market, is it really going to move that little listing bar that much higher? Probably not. I don't think we're going to get 20,000 homes suddenly come on the market. Now, the end of the month, we're all waiting for the data to see what happens when the rent moratoriums expire. I'm not sure we're going to see much of that there as well, because if those tenants get the boot and get kicked out, I think the landlords, whoever owns those properties, is just going to put somebody else in because rent is still going up. They're going to take advantage of good cash flow. I don't think they see a reason to dump them. But, we can all guess, but we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. That's just the way the market works. The challenge that we see is going through this summer. There's a lot of unknowns, but I don't like forbearance and rent. I don't see anything drastically changing. Now, we did get the inflation numbers this morning, and inflation spiked, right? So the headlines are saying inflation's up 5%. Food and what do they call food and I don't know, let's call it stuff. But the reason it's up 5% is because you're comparing this April to last April. Well, what was happening last April? Nothing. I mean, we were just shut down. So the markets reacted by understanding that data. There was absolutely no move in treasuries. In fact, treasuries went down a little bit. Now, if inflation was a worry, treasuries would go up, 10-year treasuries. Mortgage rates would go up. They didn't. Even in anticipation of this data, they stayed kind of flat. So the market is saying that they believe the central banks, they believe that this is a temporary aberration in inflation, but we're going to have to wait and see. And there's a lot of debate by economists that we're going to have really bad inflation next year. And there's people saying, nope, this is just a temporary blip. So if you're a data geek, I'm not, but I do like watching some of the numbers to see what happens. But I'm really bad at math. Steve Wetton says, do you think realistically that over the long term, people working from home will stay that way? Steve, that's a great question. Personally, at first, I didn't think so, because I think, to me, I was in a sales job and I had a sales team and stuff. And there's a lot of ideas that come from the water cooler. When you're in the break room with people and you just kind of start chatting, it seemed like we came up with more great sales ideas that would take off there than we ever did in a stuffy meeting in a conference room. Because sometimes you just have this one-on-one conversation with one of your business partners and you go, hey, I was just thinking, and it blossoms into something amazing. And I think that element's missing. But on the other side of the fence, I was talking to a young man, and his business, he's in charge of helping arrange shipping cargoes going from Germany to the United States to Europe and everything. He's one of these guys that coordinates all the content. And I asked him that very same question. And he said, no, I think it's here to stay. And he says, I'll give you an example for our company. He goes, when they look at the money that they're saving on leases that they have to have for offices, and the money that they're saving, not flying us all over the place for meetings, he said, it far outweighed any loss in productivity that they might see because we're watching Netflix at home while we're working. And he said, on top of that, he goes, the savings was so big that they gave us computers, microphones, and iPads to help enhance our Zoom meetings and our work at home experience. So he said, my age group, my company, he says, it's here to stay. They're not going back to offices. And we're not going back to business travel. There's very few reasons for business travel now. I have a friend that's still in the bread industry where I was. And, he used to have to fly to Cincinnati to meet with Kroger, San Diego to meet with Costco, and then, or Seattle to meet with Costco, Pleasanton, California to meet with Safeway. And you would schedule your whole week to deliver your sales plans. Now He told me a couple weeks ago, he goes, I met with 3 corporations in one afternoon without leaving my desk. So, in fact, without leaving his house. So it's something to watch. I don't know how much of a real estate impact that has had. I think, I mean, we've got this site that's called How Money Walks, which shows where people are moving to and from. And if you look at Arizona, we're not seeing an exodus out of the city into any other further rural areas, but some of these states are. We gained wealth from California, 11.98 billion, and then Illinois, 2 billion from New York. This is IRS data, 2.1 from Minnesota, and we lost 299 million to Texas. That's a really tiny number. People are not leaving Arizona and going to Texas, but it's an interesting thing to look at. Even in California, we look at that. They're leaving down here and they're going to some of these areas up here by Nevada County and Placer County. So San Francisco's seeing people leaving and going a little further up. So the tech industry is right here and there are people moving. So that's a great link. I have that provided, I believe, in my contents below, howmoneywalks.com, IRS tax mitigation. So now let's get to something a little interesting here, as if that wasn't interesting, right? So how much is your house worth? How do you figure it out? Everybody starts out at Zillow. Everybody. Because they are the #1 website. Now, Zillow buys and sells homes. They actually had to join our MLS. So it's against ethics for me to complain about another brokerage. So I'm not going to say anything bad or good about Zillow. But what is a Zestimate? So they come out and they go, a Zestimate is the market value for a home, computed using proprietary formula, including public and user-submitted data. Updating your home facts can help make your Zestimate more accurate. A Zestimate's not an official appraisal, but it's a starting point in determining value. So don't hang your hat on that Zillow number, but it's a starting point. Okay, it kind of gives you I mean, if you have no idea what your house is worth approximately, at least you want to get to where you find a range. Now they come on and they say how to find the value of your home. And I think this advice is good. Begin with your Zestimate. Oops, I shouldn't have clicked that. It's a useful starting point to help you determine an independent and unbiased assessment of what your home might be worth in today's market. Try comparing your home to recently sold properties to better understand its current value. Your real estate agent or appraiser will physically inspect the home and take into account special features, location, and market conditions. So what I did was I went and some of the main, even agents that complain about Zillow, they have a calculator on their website that says, what's my home worth? And it captures people's addresses. So you put in 123 Main Street and I'm going to mail you a postcard. Hey, I noticed that you were looking for your value. Just a way to try to find out if, meet somebody that wants to sell their home. But I'm going to compare and see what spits out. I want to see what Zillow says. So I did a house I used to own. I went Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, and then my website, rickhelps.com. And I have two, rickhelps.com and ricksellsphoenix.com. And ricksellsphoenix.com is probably the best way to do it, where it just says right here, what's my home worth? Put your name, email, address, and then tell me the condition of the property, number of bedrooms, and any other additional features, approximate size, age, and then I can do a deep dive based on this data that you've given me. So that's probably the smart way to do it if you're serious about looking at it. But here's what I came up with, folks, and this is wild. So it's right here. Let's see, that's not it. I got to go full screen here, and here we go. Zillow, the same house, they said it's $560,893. Redfin, 508. Kind of a big difference, huh? Realtor.com, 510. My website, 490. All these are just based on computer algorithms. Zillow goes through and compares all kinds of things. Like they say, it's proprietary. We don't know how they do it. We don't know how Redfin does it. But look at the swings there. Where would you list this home? 560 or 490? Well, you're not going to go 490. So That's the rub there. That's what's going on with these online home estimates. Now, having said that, what's the best way to find the value of your home? Obviously, um, you know, you don't have access to MLS data. You don't have access to some of the reports that lenders have that can pull up all the data. Um, in a simple way, if you're just trying to get a rough average of your home, go ahead and start with Zillow, start with Redfin, start with Realtor.com, and just kind of get a gauge. And then you can use Zillow to look at closed homes around your neighborhood and see, okay, well, mine's comparable to this, and you can get a rough idea of where you fall. Because when people come to look at your house, remember, they're not just looking at your house, they're looking and comparing it to other homes that they've seen in that neighborhood. That's the market value. It's not a computer algorithm or anything like that. It's just how many eyeballs are on your house, how many boots on the ground in your living room, and how do you stack up against your neighbors? That is what value means. Now, if it's a normal market, where it's balanced, then, you want to list very close to that market value. So what I always say, if inventory is at, let's say, a 3 to 4 month supply, you want to price at the market value. So let's say we determine after looking at all the data that your house is worth 500,000. Don't price above 500,000 if there's 3 to 4 months of inventory. If there's less than 3 months of inventory or 2 months of inventory, right now we only have 2 weeks of inventory, then price higher than the market value. If you're at 6 months inventory, you better be below the market value because the market's going this way instead of this way. So how do you find a real close number? Well, today it's a totally different market than a normal market. So what you want to do is you want to have an agent take a look and start pulling some comps. And the comps really can only be 1 to 2 months behind. But then you've got to look at, well, what were they listed at and how much did they get over list? Then we need to look in that data that I've shared with you that said the percentage of homes in your zip code, 57% are selling over list. And in your price point, the average is like 15,000. That kind of tells you that safely that if you put your home on in a reasonable range between a low value of what you think the home's worth, like 450 to 535, if you list it in the middle there, like 500, that you can comfortably expect multiple offers. That's not always the case, but in 2 weeks supply of homes, that is the case. So I caution people, don't really concentrate really hard on what that asking price has to be. Just don't overshoot. So if you think that you might get bid up to a certain amount, don't start there. Go ahead and reasonably put it in a market expectation, the price of the home, by looking at what's sold next door, down the street. Have your real estate agent take a look at the inside of your home, because we're inside of homes all the time and we hear what buyers say. It's always kind of not comical, but there's a difference between I need to change this and I just don't like this. So for example, the number one thing is kitchen cabinets. Everybody has an opinion on kitchen cabinets. You can walk in and see some beautiful maple cabinets, but if you don't like maple, you're going to go, oh, that has to go. It doesn't have to go. You just want it to go. People will put in new carpets and buyers will come in and go, oh, God, I got carpet. We got to get rid of that. And they start adding it up as a future expense. They go, well, you don't have to replace it. You want to replace it. So don't think that you're going to get less, offer them less for this house because you have to replace carpet in 3 rooms because they just put new carpet in. So they're not going to look at that and go, wait, you're telling me I got to come down $6,000 because I put new carpet in? So you got to be realistic about what you expect in a market like this. Now, when you're selling, you really need to think not of your house because it's an emotional attachment. You need to start shopping your neighborhood like you're a buyer. I want to see what's for sale here. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what the backyard looks like, the kitchen. And I can tell you that the kitchen's the number one thing. The first thing that you get an opinion on when you come in the house is the kitchen. And then it's the floor plan, and then it's the backyard. And in the middle of that is the master bath. So those are the priorities. But, if the kitchen is dated, then you don't have an advantage versus your neighbors. But you need to do the research and look around, or your realtor could do it for you and sit down and go, well, look, here's what's going on in your neighborhood. Here's how your home stacks up cosmetically to these homes. This tells you we can probably price around in this price range, and you should be fine. So there isn't a computer algorithm that's going to spit out the magic number. And I think we found that. We saw that when we were looking at some houses here in Phoenix, that it's just all over the map. Now, I saw a statistic the other day that said 85% of buyers wish that they could do everything online when it comes to shopping for a mortgage. You know, we've got a generation of people that just don't want to talk to anybody. They want to go click, 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 give me the loan. I get it. We're not there yet. They're trying. Esther and Jimmy, when the difference of what's available for sale in your area versus what is sold is $200,000 difference, how do you value that? Well, you're never going to come up with the correct number. You're not going to be able to know until you list. So if you've got $200,000 difference, you really have to drill in and look at their yard, look at their kitchen, look at the street that it's on, and see how you compare with that. And like I say, pretend you're buying. Don't pretend you're selling. So if you've got a home that's different, so your home's worth $500,000, somebody sold something that was identical to yours for $650,000, then drill in and see why. You know, maybe they have a new roof. Maybe they have, solar. They have a fantastic backyard. So there's a lot of things that you need to check out. It's never going to be a cookie cutter answer. And then you have to feel, well, if I price my house relatively close in that range, just find a number that you're happy with that you're going to get. Because it's impossible for me to tell anybody, you will get 610. I can say, so we're listing 2 houses in the next couple of weeks. I can say, well, here's your range. You got a low of this and a high of this. Based on the data that I'm seeing, a lot of homes are coming in $15,000 above asking price in your zip code. And that asking price is roughly around, I'm just going to make it up, $395. So, and it looks like people are getting $410 when they're listing for $395. So I think we can just say, let's just ask $400, because that's not shooting too low and we're not shooting too high. So 400 is probably going to get you bid up to a number that you're going to be happy with. And so you don't want to overshoot, because the killer is days on the market. So you don't want to be on the market for a couple of weeks now in this market, because everybody's going, ooh, something's wrong with the house. People call me all the time. What's wrong with this house? It's been on the market a week. That never used to be a problem. But now if it's been on the market a week, you're overpriced. So have your agent do as much research as they can. But don't shop for an agent that's going to give you the highest price. If I come up and I show up to you and I go, I can sell this for $425, and somebody else comes in and says, well, let's market at $410 and see what happens. Does that make me better than the other agent? No, I'm just spitballing. I can't get you a number. I can market the house. That's our job. Our job is to make the house as visible and attractive as possible, not get you a price, but get eyeballs on the house and boots in your living room. That's what your agent does. Now, if you've got hundreds of people coming through your house and you don't have an offer, that tells you have a problem. People are seeing your house. You get hundreds of people coming through your house and you got 10 offers, then you did the right thing. So it's not a simple mathematical calculation. And that's why these online companies are failing miserably. Zillow is closer than they have been in a long time. The one smart thing that they did was they removed the Zestimate when your house is listed. And it wasn't that they were smart, is they got their pantsuit off because of a house in Illinois. People had listed it for $700,000 and Zillow had an Zestimate of $640, and they wouldn't remove it. And the sellers were saying, but I've remodeled my kitchen. I did this, I did that. And Zillow, hey, this is what our computer says. Well, they sued the pants off them and got Zillow to remove that. So now after your home sells and it records, they'll put the Zestimate back up. You bought it for $550, we're showing that it's worth $565. So they put it back up after it closes, but they're smart now. They don't dare put a Zestimate up when you've listed it. So it's a funny game out there. So hope everybody has a fabulous Thursday. I will be back tomorrow with Pat McMaster's at 3 o'clock. I hope. I'm going up camping today, I think. My truck is in the shop. Fuel pump problem. Got in it yesterday morning and I smell gas. And so I said, well, I'm not going to be towing a trailer if I smell gas. So I'm supposed to have it back before noon today. My son are going to head up to Prescott and grill some awesome steaks again. Esther and Jimmy, thank you as well. Everybody have a fabulous week.